Hello, BookTube. Jim here for Mystery and Mayhem. Today, I wanted to do a deep dive into my James Bond collection because this month, for those of you who don't know, is the tag Dr. November that was created by Mark over at Book Time with Elvis. This week, I've been reading James Bond from Russia with Love. Now, I'll probably do a more in-depth review of this book in another video, but today, I wanted to do a deep dive into my James Bond books collection, and I have quite a few of them because I've been collecting them since I've been a kid. So I thought it would be fun to kind of go through them and show you what I have. So let's get started. I won't show them all to you. I'm not going to show you the original pan books with the normal covers because I just don't want this video to be too long, because I have some hardcovers in the other room that I want to get to as well in this video, hopefully. So what I will do is I'll get started on the early pan books with some very interesting covers. I only have a few of them. I don't have the complete collection of them, but I'll show them to you to begin with. The first one, which was first in this series, is Casino Royale. And that's just, these earlier pan editions have very, very awesome covers, very reminiscent of the vintage paperbacks you'd get in America. So that's Casino Royale. Next one I have is Moonraker. Now, Ian Fleming was one of the lucky few authors back in the early 50s. He was called a super seller, where most of his books would sell in the millions. It took him a while to get there, but once the popularity of the movies came out, and John F. Kennedy said at the time that From Russia with Love was his favorite novel, the sales of Fleming's books just skyrocketed. So he went into not just the best-selling category, but the super-selling category. And there was only two other authors at the time who had that distinction, and that was Earl Stanley Gardner and Mickey Spillane. So the three of them, each book that they wrote would sell in the millions. I think there was 11 Bond novels that sold 3 million, and Mickey Spillane would sell like thousands. He was like super seller. But oddly enough, out of all three of them, Earl Stanley Gardner, I think, was still the best-selling author out of the three. A little interesting fact. There's Diamonds Are Forever. There's Tiffany Case on the cover with a famous scene when Bond walks in on her and sees her at her makeup mirror, or vanity mirror. That's just a cool cover. And probably one of my favorite Bond books, and the one I'm reading now, or I've read now, is From Russia with Love. And look at that cool cover. Just, they did such a good job on books back in the day, paperback covers. And I wish they'd do the same nowadays, but they don't. There's Dr. No. Between that and From Russia with Love, they're probably my two favorite Bond novels. And again, it's all according to taste. It might not be your favorite novel. You might not even like Bond or Fleming. But I've read other authors try to do James Bond, and technically they might be better writers, but none of them engaged me like Ian Fleming does. They're very immersive novels, and almost to a fault. He'll just explain, he researches the hell out of these books. And he goes into detail about everything. And most authors might not be able to make that work and be boring. But Fleming, it's just what draws you into the stories. It makes them very immersive, and you get into Bond's head in these stories. And they're engaging and exciting like no other author could do, James Bond. Because I think like Robert E. Howard, every story he wrote, he was in every story, and like Ian Fleming, he just put himself into every story that he wrote about James Bond as well. So that's Dr. No. There's the Goldfinger cover. Again, just so well done. And this beautiful cover of the short stories For Your Eyes Only. and that has, I think, 5 or 6 short stories in there in that one. But look at that cover, beautiful. Now, that's all I have for those specific editions of Pan from Pan Books. Actually, no, I do have movie editions too, which I'll get to in a minute. But I thought I would show you some of the American Signet editions of James Bond, starting with Casino Royale, and I do believe that's the movie cover. That's what they used for the movie poster for that comedic Casino Royale movie that had David Niven and Woody Allen back in the day, 1964 or 65, when Bond Mania was all across the world, across the country. And they made a kind of a silly Casino Royale movie because the Fleming had sold the rights years before. And that's why Casino Royale didn't get remade by Eon Productions until decades later. So that nice cover, though. Now, there's From Russia with Love, American Signet editions, Thunderball. And here's kind of a rare movie edition of Thunderball, Signet edition, with Robert McGinnis cover. Diamonds Are Forever. You Only Live Twice. And For Your Eyes Only again. The Spy Who Loved Me, which was told in the first person by a character named Vivian Michael. And the premise was that she wrote this story that said she had met James Bond in the Adirondacks, I think. It's been a while since I've read it. And Fleming decided to publish it. But of course, it was Fleming who wrote it, trying to, break out of the box of the Bond formula. And he tried a little experiment. It wasn't entirely successful, but it's kind of a interesting book to read if you're interested in that one. And then there's Fleming himself on the cover of Octopussy, another book of short stories. Now, those are the Signet editions I have. Now, I want to show you the movie editions that I have, starting with a Pan edition of Dr. No. And there's Sean Connery and Ursula Andress on the cover, and I think that's Jack Lord as Felix Leiter beside Bond on the cover. And there's Dr. No himself. Now, this is probably my favorite movie edition, From Russia with Love. And you just see the see-through, make it look like a film strip. Very cool. And there's Tatiana Romanova on the back cover with Connery. And that one there was actually the album cover for the soundtrack. So that's probably one of my favorite editions. There's the Goldfinger movie edition from Pan Books. Bond is Back in Action, which was the big saying back in the day whenever a new Bond movie came out. There's another Thunderball movie edition with photos from the film. That was probably, to this day, apparently Thunderball is the highest grossing James Bond movie ever, if you compare it to nowadays. And apparently Thunderball was the largest grossing Bond movie. There's You Only Live Twice. Very cool, very well thought out covers. And then here's George Lazenby's movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Sorry about the dust on the top of these. Like, what a cool cover that is. And it was a good movie. I mean, considering, George Lazenby was new to the part and he wasn't the greatest actor, but the movie itself was one of the best on Her Majesty's Secret Service. There's Diamonds Are Forever again with the Robert McGinnis cover. Famous Diamonds Are Forever cover, and there's Connery on the back. he made his comeback for this movie, and he made quite a deal to come back as James Bond in this movie, and he just had a romp with it. But yeah, that's a good book. Now we get into the Roger Moore ones. There's Live and Let Die, Robert McGinnis again, Roger Moore and Jane Seymour on the back cover, Solitaire, The Man with the Golden Gun. Now these next two, James Bond, The Spy Who Loved Me, these aren't the actual novels that Fleming wrote. These are adaptations of the movie, The Spy Who Loved Me, with Roger Moore. And actually, they're pretty good. They kind of cut down the silliness a little bit of the movies and try to make it a little bit more of a serious, like more like the books than the movies. But obviously, there's still silliness in it, you know. But Christopher Wood was the author. He tried to tone it down a little bit. And then he wrote James Bond and Moonraker. And those are interesting to have. Those are good to have. Now here, John Gardner took over writing the Bond stories for Glidrose Publications. And he wrote some original stories, but then this is the first novel where the movie wasn't based on a book, but they started doing novelizations of the movies. So John Gardner was the official Bond writer, but he for this novel, he adapted the movie into a book. And that was it the first Timothy Dalton movie? I should know these things, but like I said, I don't have a complete collection of the movie editions. I forget the first one he was on was License to Kill, or the other one, I forget, but that's a cool cover, movie cover. And they're here now. We get into Pierce Brosnan, Goldeneye, which I love that movie. And again, written by John Gardner, novelization of the movie. And there's Pierce Brosnan on the cover. You see Sean Bean on the back, but you know him better from Lord of the Rings. Tomorrow Never Dies. And this is Raymond Benson took over writing the official novels from John Gardner. Now, I haven't read a lot of the Raymond Benson novels, but again, he did his own. He started doing his own standalone Bond, books. But this is, again, him writing an adaptation of the movie Tomorrow Never Dies. And the last movie edition I have is Die Another Day by, was that Raymond Benson? Yeah, that's Raymond Benson again. And before I head out to the other room for the hardcovers, which I'm going to do, I want to show you this very cool thing from the Toronto Star from back in the day. This is the complete novel of The Man with the Golden Gun that appeared in the Toronto Star when the book came out. And this was back when newspapers actually tried to put things in the paper that would attract readers instead of, pushing them away. And this was, there's two booklets in here with some original artwork to the story. So that's kind of fun. It's not in the greatest shape, but I'm happy to have it. It was a cool find. So you're going to follow me out to the other room. So I'll be back in 1 sec. Okay, here we are back again. Now I'm in the living room where I have my larger bookshelves with all my hardcovers, and this is my Bond shelf. I'm going to turn the camera around and we can get a closer look at them. So I have the official Bond books here that other authors have taken over. We've got Sebastian Fox, Jeffrey Deaver, William Boyd, Anthony Horowitz. These are, I read them, and these are good writers. But in all honesty, they just did not do it for me like Fleming. Fleming, the only one who can really write Bond decently is Ian Fleming. They were good books, but there wasn't anywhere near the excitement or the suspense that Fleming could put into a book. Like I said, technically, maybe they're better writers, but they didn't do it as well as Fleming. And neither did, there's a Raymond Benson novel, Never Dream of Dying. I mean, John Gardner and Benson were okay. They did a pretty decent job, but not as good as Fleming. Now, this one's interesting. I'm lucky enough to be in Canada, where Bond isn't really under copyright anymore and can be, unauthorized stories can be published. So this is a book of short stories featuring James Bond. Sorry, I almost lost her. But I haven't read them all yet, but I've read a few, and that's kind of one of the advantages of being in Canada. I mean, there's quite a few authors that are still under copyright in other countries, but not in Canada. So that's one bonus of being here anyway. Now here's a couple more. John Gardner, Roll of Honor, Broken Claw again, that edition. Now this is the first book he wrote of James Bond, and that's the first edition by John Gardner, license renewed. And then I have the next two. There's Icebreaker with these awesome covers. I think that's the artist who did the original Bond covers for the original hard covers that Fleming wrote. And there's Roll of Honor. And that's a paperback edition where they put together Quantum of Solace with bringing together all the James Bond short stories in that book. So instead of 2 volumes, they're all in this one volume, this paperback. Now, oddly enough, these young adult books young Bond books by Charlie Higson, he understood Bond better than any of these guys over here. I mean, that's young James Bond. It's kind of got a Harry Potter feel to it, but honestly, they were exciting, well-written books. If you're a Bond fan, I can't recommend these books enough by Charlie Higson. Very well done. A lot of fun. Now, these are beautiful hardcovers. I didn't get them all because I couldn't afford to at the time, but I got a few of them. Beautiful hardcovers. Look at that artwork. Diamonds Are Forever, Moonraker. I'm just happy to have these. You know, I wish I could get them all. Maybe one day I'll get them all. Look at that, From Russia with Love. Beautiful, beautiful hardcovers. And there's Dr. No, there's Honey Child Rider. Looks like Ursula Andress. I mean, they're beautifully done books. The Spy Who Loved Me. I forget the name of the artist. I didn't check ahead of time. I wish I had. I could give credit to the artist. I'll put it down in the description maybe. Look at that beautiful cover. And I wasn't able to get them all, but... And there's a anthology of Dr. No, Moonraker, Thunderball, From Russia with Love, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Goldfinger. So, yeah, I mean, I have a lot more Bond stuff, books about Bond, and I actually have the complete Penguin collection in a box set, which I meant to show on this video. Maybe I'll do that in another one, because this is probably running a little long right now. So I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody and wish you a good day. Take care and keep reading, everyone.